Hello friends, this video on locomotion and movement part 12 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us first look at the cross bridge cycle. So what is this cross bridge cycle? As I said, it will start from here where you have this actin, this is the actin and this is your myosin. Right? Now when ATP gets hydrolyzed to form ADP and phosphate, a lot of energy gets released, so myosin gets activated. When myosin is activated, it combines with actin. So cross bridges formed. After that, the inorganic phosphate gets released, ADP also gets released. So as a result, the myosin head pivots, it results in sliding. So this step is sliding. After that, the ATP comes back again and it joins with myosin. Now as soon as it joins to the myosin head, the bond between myosin and actin weakens and the cross bridge is broken. Now once the cross bridge is broken, again the ATP will get hydrolyzed to form ADP and phosphate, and this process will keep on continuing. So these steps which keep on happening over and again, this is known as the cross bridge cycle. So the cross bridge formation, sliding and cross bridge detachment. So these are the three steps which together form a cycle. So now the question is, how does the muscle contraction take place with the cross bridge cycle? So let us see how with this cycle taking place, the contraction will occur. Now let us suppose this is the resting phase. You remember this is how the resting phase arrangement would be. These are the Z lines and this portion is the I band, that is the isotropic band, and this portion is the A band. And what about this portion? This is the H zone. Please recap if you have forgotten what is A band, I band, H zone. So this is H zone, that is completely dark with no overlap. So you see these lines, the light lines are the thin filaments, that is actin, and the thicker lines are the thick filaments or myosin. Now this is the resting phase. Now when the contraction is initiated, that is when more and more calcium ions are pumped into the sarcoplasm, what will happen? This bonding will take place. Now when this formation of cross bridge will occur, after that sliding will take place. Now as soon as sliding takes place, what will happen? There will be a little bit of shortening of the sarcomere. So if you see, the Z lines are pulled near each other. So the Z lines are pulled near each other. Again, if you see, as the cycle continues, like let us suppose this is for the first cycle, this is after the second cycle, this is after the third cycle. So if you see, the Z lines are pulled towards each other. So contraction is taking place, and what else is happening? If you look at the length of this A, that is the dark band, that is not getting affected because that remains the same. What is getting affected is the width of the H zone. So the width of the H zone is reducing, and here if you see, there is no H zone at all because there is complete overlap. So that means the H zone width will keep on reducing, and this is how muscle contraction take place with the cross bridge cycle. Now the most important question is, when will this process of contraction stop? So now, the way it was initiated, in a very reverse way, it should get stopped. So how was it initiated? Due to the calcium ions being pumped into the sarcoplasm. So if the calcium ions are taken back from the sarcoplasm and it is taken back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, in this case, this process will also stop because again the troponin will be there to mask the active binding site. So there will be no bond between active and myosin. Right? So the cross bridge cycle involves two things: formation of cross bridge and breaking of cross bridge. And in between these two, there is a step where sliding occurs, and this sliding results in the contraction. Now with each cycle, more sliding occurs, hence the sarcomere shortens gradually. Now this cycle continues till calcium ions are pumped back to sarcoplasmic reticulum. So once the calcium ions are pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, so this process or the cross-bridge cycle will stop. Now as soon as the cross-bridge cycle stops, what will happen? There will be no more contraction. So the actin and the myosin filaments will get back to their relaxed state, or they'll get back to their resting phase. And then again, when this process starts, or when this is initiated, again contraction will happen. So that is how the muscle contraction and relaxation will take place. Now the question is how this muscle contraction and relaxation results in movement. Now that is in coordination, or that has to be in coordination with the bones and joints of the body. So for that we need to talk about the structure of bones and joints as well. So in the next section of this lesson, we will talk about the skeletal system of the body. So there we will talk about the bones, and then we will understand how the coordination happens between the muscles and the bones. Now, another important point to be noted here is that we saw that ATP also plays a very important role here, right? So now the question is, ATP is nothing but energy. So ATP is needed means energy is needed. So now how is this energy provided? Now there are many different ways that different muscle cells utilize energy. There are some muscle cells which are rich in the oxygen containing component called myoglobin. So those kind of muscle cells, they have enough mitochondria, and if they have enough mitochondria, that means they can produce ATP on their own. So that is these kind of muscle cells which can produce ATP on their own utilizing oxygen, they are called aerobic muscles. So those kind of muscles are called aerobic muscles. So they have good amount of myoglobin. So myoglobin is a pigment which contains oxygen, and they also have enough mitochondria. So they are the powerhouse of energy, so they can produce ATP. So that is one set of muscles. There is another set of muscles which are called anaerobic muscles. So these muscle cells do not have much of this pigment called myoglobin. So they did not have these myoglobin. They also have few mitochondria, not too many mitochondria. So if they do not have much mitochondria, they do not have oxygen also. So that means aerobic respiration is not possible. So they have to depend on the anaerobic process for producing energy. So anaerobic process would be the lactic acid formation, and those kind of methods are to be relied upon. So generally the aerobic muscles, since they are rich in this pigment called myoglobin, which is red in color, that is why these type of muscles are red in color, whereas due to the absence of myoglobin, these are pale or white in color. So again, these are the two sets of muscles based on the way they bring ATP. So how do they get ATP? Okay, so thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.